Srita, let me get you into this debate at this point because of this equal opportunity debate and getting education. I think the latest stats on U.S. tertiary education spending, I think, is like $3 or 3 times as much as investing into a primary education, i.e. if you want to go to university in the US, the more you spend, the better education you have, the more chances you have to go ahead. Now, you were talking about responsibility beforehand. Where does it really come into where I'm, as a mother, take responsibility for the next generation, putting away as soon as I fall pregnant, let's say, into my baby university trust fund so my child can one day afford Harvard, or I can afford Harvard for my child, and the government actually looking after the people and saying, okay, I have to spend, I have to take a certain amount of budget in order to be able to offer public schooling at a certain level to every child?
Yeah. So there are a few questions. So I'm just starting that, you know what, if I analyze parents and their ambition about their children's education in Germany or in India, where I'm more familiar with, you said Harvard. So each and every parent, when they are preparing to develop a family, everybody is thinking very big. So that is sometimes also in our society a problem. You know, we are not on the roots on the normal level, I will say, to plan something, an educational life or a career for our children. So we always have very big plans. And dreaming big is definitely very important, and there are countries like USA where you are allowed. And I personally think is that sometimes we need to have, when we plan our future, also in this phase of globalization, anywhere we are, where the social imbalance is growing huge in some countries, we need to be very hands-on. And that is one point. The second point is that in countries, as I mentioned in the introductory speech, that right to education is in the constitution and it's a law in many countries. However, there is no control. In a country like India or in Bangladesh, nobody is controlling that children are visiting school to the 8th class. So I think you need to develop sort of, I will not say control, but you need to ensure that education is accessible to the entire society. That is very important and at the same time very challenging. And I think, I personally think it has to be a combination of an industrial approach from the governmental approach, as well as a social approach. So when we debate the topic inequality, and that is the problem which I have, I will say we always analyze economic parameters. And then we try to say this is the group who should take more responsibility and that is the other group who should take more responsibility. However, we need to come up with actions and action plans. And I personally think that to develop more opportunities in a society, especially in emerging markets and developing countries, I will say, education and training is really very, very important topic where one has to focus more.
Education is something that is very costly. We just talked about it. So when you say we have to be more hands-on, as you were saying in your first phrase, who is that and what is more hands-on?
Hands-on, I understand because you said from America, you gave America as an example. However, let me go back to India, okay? And let me come back to Germany also. Not each and every parent should send their children to private schools. There are good public schools. I mean, just imagine there are parents I know in India, middle-class families, who really try their best and they allow the child to sit a year home because they are not afford to send the child to a private school. Okay, but why not sending to a public school and let the child start learning? So this is hands-on, I think. Opportunities are there. And sometimes, we always try to find a solution which we think that I need money for that, for this solution. But sometimes you don't see the opportunities which are surrounding you and existing. That is hands-on, I think.
Okay. Dominic, would you agree with that? Because I see you nodding.
Yes. Well, I would oppose your opinion. You said education is always costly, and I think this is not the case anymore today. I think this is the beauty of the world we're living in today, having the internet, having all informations at hand, having education at hand. I mean, Kerstin mentioned that in the introduction, that there are today Harvard courses online for free. You can follow. You can get credits for it that you can actually use to get an MBA or a bachelor as of today. And it doesn't matter where you are located. If you're in India or if you're in Germany, you can take part in that course.
So you mean it is there. The question is only, do you have the infrastructure to access it?
Absolutely.
Which gets cheaper and cheaper. I mean, having access to a computer with internet probably is not the case as of today in every rural space in India, but it's spreading. And having also a shift in the energy regimes, having more and more solar and wind-powered energy enables also development in rural spaces where you just have the energy at the end of the day to power a computer, or where you will get easier access to a wireless LAN or internet. So I think in today's world, or even looking further into the future, it will get more and more easier to get this education that you're looking for at almost zero cost. It's just up to you if you're able to use it for yourself.
Branko, do you agree with that? I mean, it sounds to me, Srita and Dominic, that inequality is actually almost not an issue anymore. It's like
no, I would not, actually. I would characterize what Dominic just said as a little bit of a technological optimism. I'm, of course, also very optimistic about the perspectives of technology, but I think to believe that technology is going to solve not all, but the bulk of our problems, I think it's overly optimistic. Obviously, technology has the potential to solving some. For example, what we were just talking about, ability maybe of small investors to do certain things. But, there will be still significant impediments to not only asking the question, I actually don't know how that would work. You take all the courses, but would it be accepted? Would you actually have the same sort of matriculation and acceptance as somebody who actually did pay for those schools and have taken the courses? I think it's a more, and I will not go into that particular education because I'm not, it's not something that I know per se. But I think that there are, of course, possibilities, but there is human agency, which is, I think, very important. And the issue of, this is, I think, really becoming a big issue between private and public education. Mm-hmm. It's actually becoming much more than it was 10 or 20 years ago. And final point, just a small point on education. For the rich countries, it's absolutely true that the middle-income countries will get a huge boost from education because historically that's what the rich countries did. When you go from, if you look at Brazil, went for 3 years on average of education to 8 and probably will go to 10 or 11, this is huge boost for the economy. But when you are like Germany, US, Finland, and so on, you are really at the maximum. You are not going to get to 16 years of education from everybody. You're at 13.1, 13.3. So really, the years of education you're not going to get much, bang for a buck, because simply people cannot just go to school forever, nor can everybody become an Einstein. So I think that for the rich countries, education is really sort of at a somewhat saturation point. Now, it doesn't mean that the quality that cannot get better. But, we often use education as a word to explain any problem. We just say, well, we will get more educated. But, of course, one realizes there is not much more for the rich countries. As I said, for the middle countries, middle income, yes, and poor countries, but not for the rich.